Welcome to Inspiring Teachers, a show bringing you classroom tips, motivation, and stories from successful educators. Join Tavis Beam and Danny Hogger as they explore the why of teaching.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on Inspiring Teachers today. Before we get going, thank our friends at AmpedUpLearning.com. Use promo code HoggerHistory10 for all kinds of learning activities, resources, lessons, worksheets, and so much more. Follow them on social media because they're always giving away cool stuff at Amped Up Learning, and we appreciate that they're owned by two teachers. They support teachers who create, and teachers can find wonderful lesson plans there to enhance their classrooms. Support the Hogger History Store while you're there, and you'll just be blown away by the things you can find. Promo code HoggerHistory10, that's AmpedUpLearning.com. Now here's today's edition of Inspiring Teachers. I hope you'll really enjoy it. Like, share, subscribe, and send it to a friend or an administrator. Thanks for listening. And start recording. And if there's anything you needed me to edit out after, just let me know that, and we'll probably air this in about a month. So thank you all, and let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Oh, welcome to a New Year's edition of Inspiring Teachers. Danny Hogger alongside virtual Tavis Beam. How are you?
I'm doing good today. How are you doing, Danny?
Oh, always good to be joined by you, whether in person or through an internet connection. And
That's our life now.
It is. And in this year, we needed some new advice. And so we have some new guests joining us, a first panel episode we've done in several months to talk about empathy in the new year and plans for how to reach students and our coworkers more effectively than ever. I'm going to have them introduce themselves because they need no introduction, but don't we all like to give one to ourselves anyway? So we'll start with Noah. Daniel, Noah, thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me. This is my 25th year in the classroom, and it is my 4th year as a consultant. I'm a podcaster, a writer, and just a generally excited human being. Oh yeah, and a co-founder of the Mentory. That's really important too.
I was going to throw that in, and also from Ontario, Canada, which is like one of my favorite places on earth. So love it so much. I go every year for the past 5 years, but maybe towards the end of 21. Jumping across several time zones to Yuma, Arizona. Nicole Biscotti's here. How are you, Nicole?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for having me. It's always amazing to start out the year with these educators and these kind of conversations.
And you are so good at having so many different kinds of conversations to reach students with different needs and reach students wherever they are in the classroom. So we're looking forward to hearing from you today as well. Thanks for joining us. Another person who brings together global collaborations and such a joyful leader, Liz Savage is here. We're so pleased to talk to you for the first time, Liz.
Yes, it's exciting to be here. This is my 11th year in education. I love teaching. I'm also a writer. I love to write. And a mom of 3, so I have a lot going on. So they're all older though, but I'm super excited to be here and talk about just what it's like to be in the classroom right now, especially.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for joining us. And to Illinois we go, to Dr. Eric Youngman, advocate for growth mindset, curriculum director, another author, a lot of writers and talkers in this room. Dr. Eric, thank you for joining us on Inspiring Teachers today.
Greetings from Illinois. This is my 20th year as an administrator. Before that, I was a first grade teacher. And a couple of months ago, I released a book, 12 Characteristics of Deliberate Homework.
Excellent, excellent. So good to be thoughtful in the things we do as teachers. Tavis, I'm going to let you spin the wheel and say, where do you want to start this conversation today?
Well, I think that, like you talked about, kind of gearing up for the new year. And with the first part of the school year, we've learned a lot. So what can we bring from what we've learned in the last 5 months of distance learning into the rest of this year? Because I'm pretty sure that my district is going to be in distance learning for the rest of the school year. So I'd love to hear what people think. Like, what have we learned? What do we know we should do? And what do we know that we shouldn't do? What is not a priority that maybe seemed like a priority at the beginning?
Okay, and I'm going to let anyone join in as they like. But Liz, I want to start with you. What are you thinking in regards to your approach to 2021?
Well, my district has offered virtual learning since August, but we also have on-site students. I am currently an on-site and virtual first grade teacher. So I do all of the virtual first grade students for our school, as well as teach on-site first grade students as well. So it was a rough beginning. Not gonna lie, it was very rough. I think it took its toll on everybody because we were in the unknown. So we really didn't have, any idea of how it was gonna go. So of course, with that comes a lot of bumps in the road. So my parents have been super gracious and understanding, and we've learned, and that I think is what I've learned most is, I think the benefit that's come from this is that we have learned a multitude of ways to communicate with parents now. not just through paper newsletters or email or phone calls. We have so many other options now. And so through that, we have really become a close, connected group. And so that's something that I'm going to carry with me, even after all of this, I think we found much better ways to be able to communicate with each other and make sure that we are staying connected, because there's lots of bumps in the road throughout the day with virtual learning. And, with me having on-site kids as well, we had to, I think it taught not just myself, but our students and our parents a little patience and understanding, and it brought in that empathy that we were going to be talking about today. Understanding that we're all new to this and giving a little grace. So
I like the idea of giving grace during this time, especially due to not knowing where everyone is at and where everyone's environment is, where they're connecting to us from. I'm taking more time than ever to check in with students every day, in between each question, in between each lesson, in each transition. Ask some fun questions too, besides the curriculum, keep things engaging. And I think that has helped a lot. And I had a couple students write me in the first few weeks, and I'm teaching high school. It's like we're in a podcast every day, and it's really fun. And I'm like, honestly, I told them, if we're not having fun together, then I should choose a different career as well, because I want to enjoy my time with you. And that's not going to make everyone's day perfect. It's not going to solve everything that we need to solve, but it really sets a nice foundation for the community that we're in. And I know we're at vastly different ages in our students, but I think that if we can look forward, I told them, if we can look forward to seeing each other every day, we're taking a good step to start. Noah, how about you? What are you doing during this year to kind of get ready for the new year?
Well, for me, getting ready for the new year was getting ready for the school year. That was, like Liz was saying, a very interesting learning curve. It was totally cool to get to know parents on another level, because it was like being on the island of our grade 8 class in our virtual world. So even though we have this amazing system, my board has it's called the Elementary Virtual School. So we're actually in a board of 32,000 kids that are all virtual, and they basically subdivided our board, not even created a new board within a board. So it's really interesting to be part of something totally new. My students get to be part of surveys and data that gets collected to see how they're learning, to make sure that they're having effective experiences. And it's good data collection for me, because that's what I do this for. I mean, aren't we all in this for that reason?
Oh, so, Canada. I love it again. It's just so many things that sound like good ideas to me. And how has that been effective so far?
Well, I think part of it was just being really open to making mistakes, kind of letting everybody know, just like the glitch being normal, things are not always going to roll perfectly. And the more we connect with each other, the better it's going to be. And my class, what I love about teaching in the classroom, it hasn't changed teaching virtually. It's just more challenging. So I still want to create experiences that send students self-ward and engage them as whole people in their learning. And there's really neat ways that I'm learning in the virtual class that I want to do a better job in my actual classroom when I get back, because I've learned tools that add voice, add dimension to what voice is. That's my big takeaway so far.
That's excellent. Excellent. Dr. Eric, any of this sounding similar to things that you're hearing from your sites, and how are you approaching the new year?
Absolutely. I think I'm focusing on collaborative, empathetic flexibility. I think, again, we need to continue to understand what our family's going through, what our students going through. Think of the different range of what it might look like for a high schooler. I have 3 daughters, but what it looks like for my 7th grader, my 5th grader, and then what it's completely different for a kindergartner or first grader. So you have to think about the students first. We need to focus on working together and learning together, but don't forget about the teachers. What are they going through? We can't continue to push and ask them to do without understanding the challenges and the creativeness they've already done. So I think that empathy is very powerful. Another thing is communication and relationships. So we've had to make a lot of changes. There's a lot of words new in 2020 we weren't using before, like pivot, but we're doing it a lot. But communication, I think, is the most critical. Most people aren't going to be happy with most of the decisions. So we have to clearly explain why, provide some proper timeframes, and really gather that feedback. So two-way communication. And then the third thing would be, I talked about relationships, and if you have those, you can build and make changes. But really the third thing I think is also growth mindset. How can we empower students to be more independent, to show autonomy, to have that agency? How can we provide opportunities for them to problem solve? And really, let's look at what they're doing. I think the students have surprised everyone. Let's recognize what they've done. And now that they have shown us they can independently do some things, how can we use that and enhance instruction in the future. Let's not go back to 2019. How can we build off the strengths of what the students and teachers have done and really make some changes? So those three would be the areas that I continue to focus on.
That is a really refreshing mindset that you have, really taking the stance of, wow, we have really seen what the kids are capable of. So often we fixate on, I can't get these 3 or 4 kids to turn on their cameras and I can't get them to turn in anything. But really the vast majority of our students have stepped up to such a high standard under such extreme stress. So thank you for making that point. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, but I think of what kids were doing in 2019, and all of a sudden in like 3 months, I mean, it was even shorter. Think of what everyone's doing, teachers included.
And thank you for keeping the open mind towards considering what teachers are going through during that time too. And it must make them feel good to be supported. I know our staff at our school has done the same, and that gives you a lot of peace of mind going forward, knowing that you are supported and people understand that you're doing the best you can too. Nicole, through hearing these things and, all the things that you've been writing on social media as well, you talk a lot about support, and you talk a lot about effort, and you talk a lot about kindness too through all those things. So tell me about your approach for this coming January as we resume.
Thank you. Yes, I've been doing a lot of reflecting about that over break and then towards the end of last semester. I think that we have to find the good in every situation. And one thing, I guess it took a pandemic to shake up education. We are finally one-to-one, right? Like the one-to-one device thing was such a huge deal. Now everyone, all of a sudden, almost everyone is one-to-one. So that's a great thing. And I think that also, I like what Dr. Youngman was saying about celebrating the kids. My 10-year-old is all of a sudden managing emails. Like what 10-year-old was emailing pre-pandemic, right? So the kids have definitely had to step up. And I think that they have, and this generation is so adaptable and so innovative, and it's exciting to me as a teacher. And I think that going forward, what we can do, I don't want to go back to the normal. I want there to be a better normal. And we have such an opportunity as educators right now, because everything was so shaken up, to take a look at this push into technology. And in my personal opinion, we probably are a little too far into technology right now out of necessity and for our safety. But once things level back, what parts do we keep? What parts made us more efficient? And I know myself as an educator, we talk a lot about time. And I'm finding that a lot of the technology that I'm using now is giving me the opportunity to save time and automate certain teacher tasks, give better feedback, keep better records, so that I can hopefully, as I'm learning to navigate this myself, my hope is that I'll come out a more effective educator and be able to focus more on support. And in the vein of support, I'd also like to say that being at home with my son with ADHD while I'm teaching on Zoom, and I have 11-year-old twins in a house, is a lot of fun. A lot of us are in this boat, but it's also been an amazing opportunity because Jason normally goes to school someplace else all day. And now I'm seeing his education happen in front of me to a large extent. And I know as a mother, I know we're teachers, but also if I take off the teacher hat for a moment, as a mother, I'm learning a lot about how my kid learns. And I think that that's happening to parents in general, that this kind of forced closeness is giving us an opportunity to learn more about how our kids learn. And the last thing I'd like to say is that going forward, I feel that we kind of scrambled largely to go online and do hybrid models because we had to, right? But I'm hoping that now we can start to bring the student voice in more.
Those are all great things. Anyone else want to jump in on that?
I would say I agree with Nicole, and I'm an identical twin, so I can completely understand what you're going through right now because I'm sure we were that way with my mom as well. But definitely some of the points that were made is I think we have definitely underestimated the ability of our kids. I teach first grade, and what my first graders are doing and have been doing since we came back are things that I probably wouldn't have expected them to be able to do. So I think that we're going to see a lot of growth in our kids based just on the fact that we're allowing them to show us what they can do because of necessity. So I think we're going to learn a lot about what our kids were capable of doing that we weren't setting that bar high enough for them. And I'm not talking about rigor. I'm talking about just ability, just a passion for wanting to do things that, it's kind of like as a mom, sometimes we tend to do things for our kids, and it tends to stifle them a little bit. And I think as teachers, we were kind of those helicopter teachers, where we were just like, no, let me get that computer out for me. Let me get it turned on for you. And as a first grade teacher, now that we are one-to-one, I'm seeing students who, while I'm going to do my virtual side, and it's their turn to be working independently on the computer, I'm not having to log anything. I'm not having to post out against their Google Classroom assignments or submit things to me. So I think it's been very eye-opening to see the potential that our students have and how we have limited them in that regard.
After 12 years in broadcasting, I've really tried to create a classroom environment that is dynamic while still being genuine and authentic, looking at current events and bringing them in frame with what we are learning historically. There's so many ways in which your program could be better if you just improved on what you're already doing. You're working hard to benefit students, but are you thinking about your voice and how your program is entertaining or is instructive? Take a look at my book, A Broadcaster's Secrets to Teaching, to find stories and reflections on how I turned a career in radio and TV into an engaging book to improve my classroom philosophy and become a more motivated educator. Thanks for watching.